How many foreign trips did you take altogether?
Foreign trips,
Like
Munich Security, yeah, 5 or 6. Munich Security Conference, both 2005 and 2006. Iraq with Senator McCain, Senator Graham, Senator Thune. I think that was 2006.
Were these all in connection with armed services? Did
Yes,
you
they
take
were
it?
all.
You
They
never,
were all. I had to go to
Yeah.
the chairman of the committee and ask for permission every time, and he always said yes. We went to just McCain and I went to a conference on climate change in London, which was very interesting.
just the two of you.
Just John and I,
That's
yeah.
fascinating. What do you think about climate change?
It's real.
Okay.
It's
Do you
real,
think
and
the
we ought to
government is
listen.
you think the government is doing the right things to deal with it?
I don't know how you deal with it.
Good
I don't know how you deal with. How do you deal with climate change? Something that is inevitable.
It's not nice.
We're not going to stop burning fossil fuels.
Not nice to fool Mother Nature.
No, it's not. But nevertheless, I think some steps are being taken, but it's a fact of life. Do everything you can to control it, but you're not going to control it. It's not going to go away. Climate change is a fact of life. Ask the people who live on the island of Kiribati in the South Pacific.
Right, right. About to disappear.
That's right.
Well, if the rest of the world isn't completely cooperating, like particularly China, how much
That's
good?
for sure.
How much good does it do for us to,
That's a fair question.
Yeah,
That's my answer. It's a fair question.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're in the House, you're one term, you're commuting back and forth. I mean, was the lifestyle something that you could cope with, tolerate, handling your practice on Saturday and Monday and going back and forth?
Yeah, it was. I think I did it a little differently. When the gavel fell on Thursday afternoon, usually, don't get in anybody's way, because the rush to the airport was a stampede.
Yeah.
It's like we talk about some politicians. Don't ever get between them and a TV camera.
Right, exactly.
But this is don't ever get between any members of the House and the airport, on Thursday afternoon.
Right.
And I just said, the hell with this. This is ridiculous. So I would, on Thursday evenings, would always find a couple of folks to go out to dinner with and go out and have a nice dinner and talk over things and fly back on Friday morning.
On Friday morning, a lot more.
And
yeah.
it was more civilized.
Yeah, and of course, unfortunately, you didn't any longer have Ann. Right?
No.
It wasn't like you had a home, like a lot of these congressmen say, I got to go back and be with my family at home.
I did have a home, but I was living in it by myself.
Yeah. Okay, so did you feel you were doing anything differently to correct, or didn't you even think about this so-called image that you might have had in the Republican Party, that you were a little bit too much moderate or center-right? I mean, are there votes that you cast that you now, looking back, think, I could have sent a signal that I'm really a reasonable person, everybody ought to accept me? And
Well, I am a really reasonable person,
Yeah.
but they certainly are there votes I cast? Yes, they were, but they're votes that I felt strongly about,
Yeah.
and I cast them, and I was not in any way inclined to change my persona or my feeling about issues, because I might be irritating, angering some of the people in the party. I mean, my loyalty has been, is, and always will be to the United States,
Right.
and to the state of Michigan, and not to the party. And one of the problems now, Bill, as you know, is it's gotten to the point where what is your first loyalty? If some of members of Congress and members of the legislature are honest, they'll tell you, well, it's to the party, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, but it's to the party. And that's absurd. It's utterly absurd. That's not where your loyalty needs to be.
And in 2006, Tim Walberg, a former state representative who had been one of your opponents in 2004 and lost, decided he's going to challenge you in a primary, and it's going to be one-on-one. Did you have any feeling that, this really shouldn't be happening? Why would he even have a chance against me as an incumbent? What was your thinking?
During or after?
Well, during.
My thinking during was that I should win the primary.
Did you feel you've done everything you could reasonably do?
Would I do things differently
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
What
but,
would you have done differently?
2020 hindsight.
Well, what would you have done differently?
I would have concentrated on get out the vote in areas that I knew were supportive. The 3/4 of the way around Ann Arbor in Washtenaw County is one. In Battle Creek, which is, the Calhoun County is
Right.
no longer in the district, but it was then.
Right.
In my hometown and in my home county. In the city of Jackson, I mean, there are places where I would have concentrated, and the concentration would have been get out the vote and emphasize my record, not only my political record, but what I had done in life vis-a-vis his. And quite frankly, we did not do that enough. We didn't do it strongly enough. We didn't put enough energy into it, and we lost the primary.
You didn't feel you could have necessarily put in any more personal time yourself in those areas, did you, that would have made a difference? I mean, it was more a question, as you say, of GOTV, get out the vote, in campaign season in terms of, allocating financial resources to get people to turn out?
I put in a huge amount of time.
Going back to district events and stuff.
Going back to district events, going to Lincoln Day dinners. And I could feel a certain amount of opposition from the far right at events that I would attend.
Well, but
And-
that was there all along.
Well,
But
it
always been
it was there all along, but I guess I did not appreciate the level of Ludditism in the in the right wing of the Republican Party.
Yeah, okay. So that built up. Okay, so then Tim Wahlberg beat you in the primary, and you asked me a minute ago, what was your reaction afterwards? Was it much different than what you just told me?
No, I was disappointed that I lost, but it's one of the things, I have a life.
Yeah.
I have a life. I have multiple interests.
Right.
I had
your
a very
practice.
fine medical practice.
Right.
I was asked not long after that to become a faculty member at the University of Michigan and to teach in the Ford School of Public Policy. I'm now beginning my 10th year doing that. So I had a life. I have a life, and I think it's a mistake. You've seen it. I've seen it. For people to become so wrapped up just in the mechanics of holding office that everything else falls by the wayside, and that's not good.
Well, another good thing is, it's not good, but I mean, the Republicans, your party, lost control of the House in 2006, so Tim Wahlberg goes down there in the minority and serves 2 years, then he gets beat in 2008, and, he finally got the seat back in 2010, and now the Republicans are in the majority again. But the next 2 terms you would have served if you stayed on between 2006 and 2010, you would have been in the minority. Let me ask you, down there, in your opinion, does it make that much difference being in the majority and minority?
Ever the master of understatement. Yes, it
Okay.
makes a huge difference.
All right. Well, but remember, while Hillary Clinton was on this trip with you, when you were in the majority in the House, she was in the minority in the Senate.
Yep.
But she still got to go on the trip.
Yeah,
so
well,
the Democrats aren't completely
well, they got to
suppressed.
go on the trip, but
Yeah.
to try to get a piece of legislation through.
Okay. So it would have made a real difference. I mean,
I think it would have made a huge difference.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So you're back in the district and you're practicing again. And let me ask you this. Your speaker during your single term in the House was Dennis Hastert. And I've seen you quoted as saying you thought he was a great guy. I mean, you must have been just absolutely floored by what's happened to Dennis Hastert in the last 2 years.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I was utterly floored.
I mean-
he was in my mind, very grandfatherly sort of a guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't loud or boisterous in any way. He, in the first 6 months that I was in the House, one of the things that I'm most proud of is being one of the leaders in getting the approval of human embryonic stem cell research, getting that bill through the House and through the Senate, and then veto was George W. Bush's first veto, which I don't want to talk about because it was really a very ill-advised veto, but nevertheless. But we got, it was Castle to get bill. Mike Castle, congressman from Delaware, who was what a superb individual he was. He was governor of Delaware, and he ran for the Senate and was defeated in the primary by that woman who said, "I am not a witch."
Right.
And Diana DeGette, who's still in the House, from Colorado, just a lovely woman.
A Democrat.
A Democrat.
Right.
She, and Castle had this bill which made human embryonic stem cell research legal so that the government could finance it, could fund it, and it could be done nationwide, which every scientist who follows that thing knew had to be done. So they came to me almost immediately when I went to the House and said, you know, you're a physician, will you help us with this? Because a couple of the physicians on the Republican side now are so conservative they won't do it, even though they know it's the right thing to do.